Hello everyone, it is Sunday night and we are at Bat City Comic Professionals, which means it must be time to wind down your weekend. As always, I am Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to talk to you about all of this week's small press and indie comics. They're awesome. They're always awesome, and that's why we want to tell you all about them. We are going to kick off today, though, winding down our weekend with Embroidery. This is a 2021 Pinot Noir. It's made in Monterey, California, or at least Monterey County, California is like where it's bottled. I don't know that I could say that it's made there, but I'm really excited. It's a Napa area wine. I love Pinot Noirs because they're usually a nice dry taste. So let's see what we got. That is very grapey. That is actually the sweetest taste of a Pinot Noir I've ever had. Not saying like, I don't know, the aftertaste kind of tastes completely different than the foreground taste. The foreground is very sweet. That first drink was a lot of sugar for a Pinot Noir. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
It mellows out.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely mellows out as it like sits in your mouth. But that first thing, I was like, whoa, that's sugary sweet. I knew as soon as I said I like Pinot Noirs because they're not like sweet and they're very dry that this is going to be a sweet one just because I said that. But it's also like I could smell it when I opened it up that it was very strong in the fruit flavors, and I was like, that's going to have a lot of that texture in it. Of the actual fruit. And the embroidery label like kind of just looks like it's gonna be almost fruity and frilly instead of like dry and smooth. I don't know, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but I feel like wine bottles definitely kind of speak to what the taste of the wine is going to be like in the design of it. And this totally with all the flowers and the different kinds and the vine texture, like it definitely feels like that's kind of what it tastes like, a very flowery robust grape flavor.
But not a lot of body.
Mm-mm.
Still very thin.
Very thin. Very, very thin for a Pinot Noir. But, yeah. So, honestly, if you're trying to gateway to Pinot Noirs from one of the, like, richer, like, dessert wines or even
Red blend.
Yeah, even a red blend. Like if you're trying to like step into Pinot Noir from one of those, I think this is a good gateway to take you from those two things. So Embroidery, try it out. Again, definitely a step from sweet into drier wines. We had an awesome week this week. Towards the end, the first half was crazy. We want to, of course, send all of our love and support to our people up in the Big Bend area of Florida. If you don't know, we had a hurricane this week here, and we were fortunate enough that it did hit north of us, so there wasn't any damage to Bat City. While there was some flooding in the area, it wasn't too bad, but we did stay closed on Wednesday just because those roads were underwater and we wanted to make sure everybody was safe. But the Big Bend area of Florida did get hit really hard, so if you can think of ways that you can send support to them, I know they're starting to look for that for people. It kind of hit between a 3 and a 4 hurricane wise, which does make it a major hurricane. So we got a little intense up there. So definitely reach out and see how you can support people in those areas. And then we were open the rest of the week. We did get to go to a double header from the Marauders this week. They possibly ended their season. We're going to find out. Fingers crossed. If some other people lost this week, we might actually see our Marauders in the playoffs.
Who are the Marauders?
The Marauders are the local minor league baseball team for those of you who don't live in Bradenton. They are the Pittsburgh Pirates farm team. So Bradenton area is the home of spring training, so there are a lot of farm teams in this area for minor league baseball. And so we have the Marauders here, and we got to go and celebrate with them the end of their season. This was their fan night weekend, and so shout out to them. Thank you so much. Upcoming at Bat City, of course, this weekend on the 9th is Comic Creation Workshop, so 11:30 and 3 p.m. Bring the kids out. It's free. They can come learn how to write their own comics, come explore their imaginations and creativity, even if they don't know how to draw. They don't know how to write, that's okay. That's part of what we're here to teach them. And then coming up on the 16th, cannot believe I'm already saying this. It feels like just yesterday, but we are celebrating 1 year in Bradenton, September 16th. That is insane to me. I cannot believe that. But we are. And so we will be having a 1-year anniversary special extravaganza. There will be a big sale. There will be creators out here selling their arts. There will be cosplayers doing just fun cosplay like photo sessions. It is Batman Day, so Batman will be out here taking pictures with you. We're going to have some story time slots going on, so you can come in and bring the kiddos for some stories from some of those superheroes and other favorite characters. And who knows, there's still more to come. So there is an event on our Facebook page. You can start following along with some of those announcements for that, but keep a lookout on all of our social media and around the store for other big announcements coming for that September 16th event. I'm really excited. It has been incredible to be a part of the Bradenton community, a part of the Old Manatee community for this last year, and we're all just getting started working together, and I know that we're going to see even more amazing things come from this Bradenton community and family, and Bat City as a part of it. So thank you for welcoming us so much, Bradenton, and hopefully you'll come party with us on the 16th. I am going to share this out really fast so people know we're talking about comics. And I'm literally just gonna write comics. Yay. Okay, and then, you know what? If I'm going to talk about comics, it's time to talk about comics. So let's jump in and get started with our first book for the week, which is Kara, Guardian of the Realms, issue 7 from Viziate Entertainment. If you are like, what is Viziate Entertainment, Shannon? I've never heard of them. I'm so glad you asked, Internet. It's so great of you to accommodate that question and answer session for me. And the thing is, Viziate is very, very brand new. This is their second book. They launched both of their books on the same day, and they have been only out since February of this year. They're an Indonesian publisher, and both of their books are kid, young adult, all ages friendly. And Kara has been one of the most beautiful, wonderful books I've been absolutely thrilled about. She is the guardian of the realm, as it says, and what that basically means is that she lives in this magical realm adjacent to the human world, where she is a protector of all things living. So she helps plants grow, she helps animals work out disagreements, she kind of just keeps the magic of nature and the wonder of life alive. And in the very first pages of the very first issue, 2 boys were traveling from the future, and they ended up landing in Kara's realm, and they are trying to get their resources and this magic so they can take it back to the future and use it to keep themselves alive, because they're humans and they destroyed the world. Let's just be honest, that's what happened. And Kara has thought that they were innocent, sweet people who were coming to be her friends, and she's been helping them along the way, only to find out from Elderbird that they had ulterior motives, and that they have in the past. That these people are not the first humans to come to their realm, and when people come to this world, they destroy it just like they destroyed their own world. And Kara has fled as of this issue. She is fleeing the magic world because she feels like there is nobody she can trust, not even Elderbird and the other animals that she's always relied on. It seems just like everybody's lying to her, and she has fled into our realm, and things are not looking so good for Kara or the realms that she's supposed to protect. They announced at the end of this issue that this is going to be an 11-part series, so we are about halfway through this journey, and I cannot wait to see how Kara saves the day, because I just know she's going to, because she's just absolutely wonderful. And honestly, I have an Elderbird plushie, because I just kind of want to snuggle that cute little magical owl. I know I say cute and little, but he's ginormous. Up next, we have Kitsune, issue 6 from Scout Comics. This is one of those books that I did not expect to get emotionally invested in. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was going to be just your classic samurai, Ronin kind of story, but with the Kitsune foxes from Japanese culture. And this has become something that I save it for one of the books where I know I'm going to need a story that I love to like pick up sadness, or like if something's not my favorite book, this is one that falls after it. And so we are following a Kitsune fox who is a Ronin, much like I anticipated, and he has been asked by the Emperor to help them fight this war. And he and his friend, who has been traveling with him, go back and are fighting the war with them, and some very tragic things happen. And we also learn who the war they are fighting with, or against, I guess I should say, is led by, and it just happens to be our Ronin's long lost son. And he's been working this fight for a few issues now against the sun, and it's just the emotional turmoil of these two having to deal with each other and having to deal with their own past that neither one of them has wanted to reconcile has just come to head in this battle, and it has been absolutely great storytelling. And honestly, if you ever wanted to see, and I say this I think every time I talk about this book, but if you ever wanted to see an independent story about the two guys from Rogue One, the Star Wars movie, that are traveling with Jyn Erso, the blind man and the guy that's a former Jedi possibly, and the gentleman who has all the guns, if you ever wanted to see them take on a story in like feudal Japan, this is basically that, but they are animals, anthropomorphic animals. And so it's such a good story. Again, it was a big surprise for me, and I definitely think people should check it out because it is fantastic. Up next is The Gimmick, issue 6 from Ahoy Comics, and this is the end of The Gimmick. And boy, did they hit the end hard when they came at this. So if you have not read The Gimmick yet, this is basically the story of a man who is a wrestler, and he in the very first issue, very first couple pages, he ends up punching a guy like straight through his head, and we find out that this guy has some superpowers and he's been hiding them from everybody forever. And the guy, obviously, that he was fighting, that he punched through the head, does not have superpowers and did not live. And so now this guy is on the run, and he's been trying to like get away from it all, kind of clear his name, ends up teaming up with a young girl who is connected to the person that he killed. Meanwhile, same time, back home, his ex-girlfriend, who he had a baby with, is trying to deal with getting back into the ring, but also what to do with the baby and all of the like people coming after them. And there's a lot of who's in charge here, who's not in charge here. There's some FBI, there's some twists and turns with the people in charge of the wrestling that are kind of controlling the world. Very like political undertakings for like in the wrestling world. Like, so if you know like anything that goes on like the WWE and all those kinds of things and how big that drama can get on the inside and outside, this kind of has a little bit of that mixed with an actual murder investigation and one randomly superpowered person. This issue wraps it up in a way that you are not anticipating the wrap-up to be, and it wouldn't be an Ahoy comic if it didn't leave with a big bam, pow, boom. Did they really just say that as what they were going for here? And they do that once again on here, and it's so fantastic. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, this one has very little to do with in the ring and more so to do with that investigation and the people trying to like get away with things that they shouldn't do. So we've got World Tree issue 5 from Image Comics. This is James Tynion's newest thriller, and if you haven't been following World Tree yet, basically there is an undernet on the internet that has this dark imagery on it, and people who see this imagery kind of go crazy and start killing people. And it starts with issue 1 started with a young boy doing that and getting arrested and things happening to him. And now his brother has been brought on to the people who are supposed to be stopping it. But the thing is that they're also the people that created it. So it's something that got out of their own control, and now they're having to fix their own problems. But we learn that they're not all on the same page about how to do that. They're not all on the same page about whether or not they want to do that. And this mysterious woman who has been wandering the streets of every city naked keeps showing up, and we learn her connection to the whole thing in the last issue that we just had. We learned her connection, and we start to see how that's going to play out with all of the people connected to it. As we move into this issue, there are some big changes heading our way. The world is in a lot of trouble, and James Tynion really likes to toy with what is real and what isn't, and what we all think is real and what isn't as he plays out this story. So if you're just looking for something really, really trippy, this is a big one. And this series has been such a big deal series that, like, we're going to 5th prints of almost every single issue. So if I know we have some first prints left of some of the issues, so if you're like somebody who's like, I have to get those collectible pieces of the puzzle, like, this is definitely time. Run out and grab your World Tree issues now, because they are starting to sell out places so much so that they literally, like, issue 4 and issue 5 have already gone to 2nd prints. So it's selling like crazy. Exorcists Never Die, issue 5 from Madcave. This is the story of 2 people who work as exorcists, and not in the traditional sense. They are not going into a house and, like, sprinkling water on people and reciting some rituals. They are suited up in full knight armor, and they are going to battle. And they literally battle all of these different right now they're battling the 7 deadly sins through this layered version of hell. Like, they're basically going through, like, the 7 circles of hell, but they are the 7 deadly sins, trying to stop these possessions that are happening. One of the things that I find the most ridiculous and yet wonderful is that they have these, like, I'm going to flip to one. They have what I call their, like, Pokemon Power Ranger moments, because they literally call on, like, the powers of the angels, and they have, like, this blast scene where they change it, like, they, like, power up for it. But at the same time, everything around that is super deep. Like, in this particular issue, we are fighting against envy, and envy is telling them, you know, oh, you know, you're gonna fall for what I want, what I have to offer you, because you're jealous of each other. You're jealous of the lives that you couldn't lead. Like, they're always trying to pit the 2 exorcists against each other, and it's like, hey, you are jealous because he gets everything because his dad and his family lineage has always been exorcist, and, like, you know that you feel that. And so it just has these really, like, deep, meaningful conversations, and kind of very much makes you introspective as you're looking at it and reading it. But it's, like, at the same time, it's, like, bright colors and fun and, like, action and adventure, but the whole thing is just Steve Orlando, like, constantly like, hey, you didn't realize that is what that emotion is, but, like, let me put a name to it. Right now you're feeling envy. This is, like, your lust for this person. This is your pride coming in. And so it's been such a cool way to do it, and I love the personifications of these sins that he's created. It kind of feels like watching these Greek gods almost come to life out of the 7 deadly sins. Savage Strength of Starstorm, issue 4 from Image Comics. And this is done by Wes Craig, who did Deadly Class, and Kaya. This is his brother. So there's actually, like, a cute little Wes Craig nod in here. But this is the story of a young boy who is a high school student, and he's kind of that awkward kid. Nobody really pays attention to him. And there is an attack, like meteor shower, something crashes kind of thing, and he suddenly has superpowers. And he's like, hey, I have these superpowers. I'm really cool now. I'm going to be a hero. And he comes to find out, like, there is a lot that comes with that. There's a lot of responsibility, but also there's a lot of people chasing him down, because he has apparently, the thing that crashed was this super powerful weapon from all across, like, space and time. And so all of these aliens who are in this epic war are coming for him, and he's been having to deal with it. And suddenly, like, each of his friends that interacts with him or is there when something happens, they each start getting their own powers, and so they're kind of building their own little superhero team. And in this issue, we find out that we get a glimpse of their future, and it's not a bright future at all. There's nothing good coming for them, and they're like, how do we stop it? And they're like, we can't tell you that, or that would alter reality, so you're just gonna have to figure it out, but, like, this is your clue, so good luck with that. And they're like, okay. And then unlike most books of superheroes where it's like, hey, we're gonna send you back and, like, you're gonna have plenty of time, it's like, we also don't know if when we send you back if you're even gonna be in the same time, so it actually might even be too late by the time you get back. And good luck remembering any of this happened. So these poor kids have been set up, like, with everything against them, and suddenly having superpowers that they don't even know where they came from, and it's like, okay, I guess this is what we do now. So check it out. Honestly, like, it's got a little bit of that Invincible feel to it, where it is that young, like, kind of like optimistic kids and just like this rough, like, you're never gonna beat it kind of situation. So it's kind of like Invincible meets 90s comics, honestly. So check it out if you're into those things, which I feel like most of you are. Hollowed, issue 4 from Keenspot. This is a little slow on coming out, so I know a lot of people like started it and were like, what happened to that? It is still coming. This is the story of a detective who is working to solve like this giant butcher murder situation, and he is paired with a man from another city who has come in, and it's like a New York Chicago kind of rivalry because that's where each of them are from. And now this other guy is like, oh, well, I'm here, but like my dad's like the governor and or the mayor, and he's like, I can get you. I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna take care of this. And they fight constantly. They're like so mad, like just mad at each other. They don't want to work together. The one guy who was on the case originally, like his partner gets killed at the very beginning before the series even starts. And so he's like, really, like, I don't want another partner. And this guy's like, I don't work with partners. So it's been a whole thing. One of the guys tries to take some time away from the case, goes to a bar, gets drunk, takes a girl home, or goes back to her home, I guess I should say, and find out that she may be connected to the murder. So now they are actually working together to try to go against the people who don't want them investigating this case anymore. And that is not what this book is about anymore at all. We took a very big turn in this, and we found out a little bit more about where this butcher situation is coming from. And this book entirely changed in the second half. And we do still have some detectives, but they are not dealing with any of the things that we have dealt with or thought we were dealing with for the last 3 issues. So if you're ready for a big turn, this is going to be your issue to check out, and grab Hollowed if you want some detectives dealing with things I can't tell you because it will spoil all of the changes. Arcade Kings, issue 4 from Image Comics and the Skybound imprint. This was the book that Skybound was super excited about all year long, like since February. Skybound has been talking to us about this book, and I've been like waiting for it to come out. And then we're on issue 4 now, and I was like, I really enjoy this book, but I'm like, what? Where is the twist? Where's the Skybound of the moment of it all? And this is the issue. This is the story of 2 brothers who were raised by a man who's known for just being like the ultimate fighter. That's his whole thing. And they were being forced to do different kinds of fighting techniques, different kinds of work, and kind of just not living their lives as kids. And so they decided to run away. And we don't know what happened, but we know the 2 boys got separated. We do know after this issue, but we didn't up until this point. We know the 2 boys got separated, and they're not speaking to each other. And the man who was like their father has gone in some different directions, and things are bad for everybody. And now the prodigal son has returned home, essentially only to try to protect his little brother, who he's heard bad things are happening to. And what would happen, of course, when the older brother and younger brother meet, but a giant fight, and also some of the most heartfelt moments of like learning what that backstory really was, and learning what each of the kids went through to kind of protect the other one, or to stand to make sure that nothing happened to the brother that they loved. And you just got some really, really beautiful moments in this. It has been a fun story, very Scott Pilgrim-esque up until now, but the heart of the story lies so far in this issue 4. This is going to be the emotional part of your journey for sure, and leading to some very big things. So if you do like that Scott Pilgrim style storytelling and art style, really, I think Dylan captured both of those in these. But also, if you're just somebody looking for a really good like family connection moment, this issue specifically is going to give you that. Under a Blood Red Moon, issue 2 from Dren Publications or Dren Productions. I would say Publications because it's a book, but it's Productions. Sorry about that, Dren. This is the story of vampires versus werewolves versus aliens. There are vampires and werewolves who have been at odds against each other for forever, and now an alien invasion has come, and the aliens are taking all of the humans, and of course that would be extremely detrimental to both vampires and werewolves. And so some of the vampires and some of the werewolves are like, hey, we should work together and we should stop these aliens, and some of them are like, no, we just want to stop them and they can kill y'all in the process and we wouldn't care, and vice versa on the other side. And so there's been a lot of backstabbing going on, I guess, like not literally stabbing, but a lot of underhandedness going on in the first issue already. And in issue 2, we kind of come to a point where a little coup against the aliens has been staged, and we're gonna see if that works out in anybody's favor or if it actually becomes more detrimental. And we see some of the people who are crossing each other and how that is starting to play out for them in a negative way. And whether or not it's going to work for the people who are trying to work together is also still up in the air. So we got a lot of balls in the air in this book right now, and it feels like they're all going to crash down in the most painful way possible before or at, like, and we might lose both the sun and the moon, and everybody would be screwed. So, you know, vampires, aliens, werewolves, who's going to win? Ultimate question asked, you know, let's see how it gets off. Octobriana and the Underground, issue 2 from Dead Good Comics. Octobriana actually existed in like the 1970s, and we're bringing this character back now. I think her earlier issues were like 1971. But she is a character who was created to basically fight against all of the like Soviet oppression. And so she is just like your classic, like supercharged character, but she's like a completely like against the government and wants to take them out. And so in the very beginning of this, she's wrapping up what happened in the last issue, which was them fighting against a woman who was possessed by like Baba Yaga. Well, Baba Yaga was possessing Rasputin, and then there was another woman who was possessed as well by another spirit, and they've been fighting against them and kind of she finally takes out this character, Mother Russia, and they go off on like the next adventure. And while they're doing that, like she actually comes to a point like they're like, hey, you could just like let her live, and she's like, oh, I've let people live before and that doesn't really work out. And so we see that like Octobriana does not have any problem like killing like her villains and things like that over the course of the 2 issues. But the people that she travels with don't all feel the same. And so this young girl who's been traveling with her and Octobriana have a conversation about what it looks like to be a hero and what that means, and what that means to each of them. And so she kind of goes back to a story where she went to help a village, and the village thought that they were being protected by this different like another group of mercenaries. They were like, oh, well, the area we're in has all of these terrible people and these mercenaries are protecting us. And as she goes and does her investigation, she learns that that's not always the case, and that a lot of people pretend to be helpful to take advantage of other people, and that, you know, you've got to actually be able to weed through that and find who the true heroes are and give people their own strength. It's really fun. I definitely think this is another one where if you're a fan of 90s style comics, you're going to like this, except this flips it on its head, and it's a like strong female who's like super tough and fighting against everybody. And also, again, she's like super against communism and all of the oppression. And so I kind of love her a lot, and I want to go back and see those like 70s issues and see what she was then, because it talks about in here like how this was a Cold War comic and what they were going to do with it. And like the recommendations from the 70s are in here, and it's kind of crazy because they're from like, there's a Billy Idol recommendation in here from when he was like super like into this. He said it was Octobriana was like a Russian cartoon Statue of Liberty who came to life to battle the forces of Stalinism with a red star on her forehead. So it's like, it's been around for forever, and there's been some things like she fought like the living sphinx at one point, and a radioactive volcano. Like there's so many like crazy, very pulpy comic type of stories from the 70s that I really want to check out for her, but I love seeing what they're doing with her now. Quicksand, issue 2 from Scout Comics and our buddy Jonathan Hedrick. This is the story this is Starship Troopers. I'm just going to start there. If you're a fan of Starship Troopers, put that in our On Our Earth without space travels. Make them come out from under the ground. And this is what you get. You're getting giant bugs. And this is specifically a woman who is called into a place in I believe it's Egypt, and they have been doing a dig, and they found that all of these bugs that attacked America and the world all over a few years ago, they all seem to be coming from this underground place. And so they've kind of found that, and they need her to come in because she's kind of become like this expert on these bugs, and is also just totally like ready to take everything else out. And so she's on this investigation in here to see what's going down. And in this issue, she is there as they find like more bugs come out and things get crazy. But also for the first time, somebody who was taken by bugs and disappeared during an attack is returned to us. And so the investigations into what that could mean, because her husband has gone that same wayside, is starting to come into play in that, as well as like, can people really come back? Are they okay? How damaged are they? We're going to find out as we get to issue 3 of Quicksand. Pink Elephant, issue 2 from Sumerian. This is your typical teen slasher done by the people who did oh my gosh, what is it? Heavy Metal Drummer. So if you like thought that was super crazy, and it's a super crazy book, and you were like, what would it look like if they did a classic like teen Cabin in the Woods horror, this is the one, because this follows a group of kids, teenagers, possibly college age students, who head out to a cabin in the woods to have some fun. And they stop at a gas station, and at that gas station, a crazy old woman's like, hey, have you heard of the Pink Elephant Killer? Like, this man that comes out, like, he's gonna come and he's gonna kill you, like, he's the Pink Butcher. And they're like, haha, crazy old lady. And then they steal a bunch of stuff from her gas station that has drugs in it, and they're like, oh, this is really great, like, we're gonna have fun. And then they awaken the pink elephant on accident by doing the drugs, and now this Pink Butcher is coming for all of them, and you get your classic slasher. And I don't want to show you anything else because everything else is like crazy, either mature or crazy, like from violence or from other things, because you're in your classic teen Cabin in the Woods. And so teenagers, college students, whatever you want, they're college students, they're probably in their 20s, 20-year-olds, I guess they are, because they buy beer at the bar or at the gas station. So young 20-year-olds hanging out, making terrible decisions. And I don't really know how you would need to go much more than one more issue after this one, because things have gotten really crazy really fast. But if there's anybody who can come up with a way to make this get crazier than where I think crazy is, it's going to be the team that did Heavy Metal Drummer. Up next, The Ribbon Queen, issue 2 from AWA. This was one of the books that went to the top of my list when it came out this week, because everything that happened at the end of issue 1 was so crazy that I needed to know immediately where that led to. So in this first issue of this series, we find out that we are following a police officer who has had some issues of her own. Like, she's gotten in trouble for, just firing her gun, like firing her weapon. I guess it's called discharging your weapon, like in a crime scene kind of situation. She got in a little bit of trouble for that and has been on watch since then. But she has been looking into an investigation about a young girl who was actually, injured and hurt, and the police officer that had been there to protect her has now been harassing her and trying to coerce her into different things. And now she's trying to investigate that, and something happens, and the young girl is killed. And who knows what it was, why it happened, we don't necessarily yet, but that's what she's investigating. And while she's in the middle of her investigation, some things happen within the force. Like, people find out that she's investigating this other cop. They're not very happy about it. They start to come after her for doing just that. She starts to have some different problems. And Then the Ribbon Queen shows up. And not really. We haven't actually seen anybody called the Ribbon Queen yet, but we've started to see what that means. And we've started to get the hints of, like, once you awaken her, you can't let go, like, you can't go back. And holy crap, if you give Garth Ennis a horror, you take the level of violence that Garth Ennis is known for and you apply it to, like, a, like, dark, demonic body horror story. This is what you get. So if you love Garth Ennis and you love, like, any max level, boys level violence, and you'd want to see what that would look like in a horror, and for people who deserve what's coming to them, you should read The Ribbon Queen. You're gonna love it if you do. The Hunger and the Dusk issue 2 from IDW and their Originals imprint. This is a big one for IDW. They've been very excited about it, and they should be, because they got G. Willow Wilson, and you should always be excited when you have G. Willow Wilson on your team, because she's wonderful. But this is the story of a world where orcs and elves and humans and all of them have always kind of been at war. Even the different tribes of elves do not communicate with each other. They've been at odds, and in the very first few pages of the first issue, we find out that there are these mysterious people things, I don't know what we want to call them, who come and just absolutely destroy entire villages, entire tribes of people, entire everything. And so the humans and the orcs are like, we need to work together or we're all going to be destroyed. And so the two orc tribes decide to marry off leaders of both of their tribes to each other to kind of unite the tribes. And then a young girl who was at one point next in line kind of to rule the orcs, except something happened with her family, one of the orc tribes. She is sent to help the humans as a healer for them. And they are what's known as the last men, and they are always the last men standing, and they are always kind of like the inner group that goes around and, like, is able to sneak through and find all of the people that they need to take out, and take out, like, the big ones before that happens. And so she's working with them, and she's finally starting to, like, find a place that she belongs, and they're kind of starting to build this relationship with her. And then they think they're 2 steps ahead, as they usually are, and it turns out that they are possibly 6 feet under. By the end of this issue, there is some big battles coming our way, and who knows who's going to survive, who knows what's going to happen. This is an epic fantasy being built by G. Willow Wilson, and such a good universe immediately established between those first 2 issues. So I cannot wait to see where it goes and what she does with it. It's so good. If you like fantasy stories, I trust nobody to build me a better story of any kind than G. Willow Wilson. So Winter Ember 3 from the publisher that Blowfish Studios. I was like, it's on the inside, and so I always forget. Winter Ember is, I think I've looked it up. It's a video game. Maybe not. Just has very video game-esque art. I can't remember. But this is the story. It launched in a 0 issue where a man was kind of that playboy. He always lived his life like however he wanted. And in that 0 issue, he brings home a bunch of girls, and his family is all attacked. Most of the girls are attacked, except for one girl who is actually, like, secretly a spy and knew that all this bad stuff was coming his way. And so she helps him, like, saves his life, gets him out. But now he kind of owes his life to not only her, but the society that she belongs to that saved his life. And he wants to get his vengeance and his answers, and the only way he can do that is by fulfilling everything that they ask of him first for the saving and the training that they've done. And so he's kind of on a wanted Assassin's Creed vengeance, but assigned mission possibilities right now. And so he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, we're 3 issues in, which technically we're 4 issues in because we had that 0 issue. And he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to work on the thing that I said I was going to work on. And they're like, well, you do what we tell you. And so we're starting to see those alliances break apart a little bit, and see maybe he's not the only one that feels like things aren't going the way they're supposed to. So if you like Assassin's Creed or anything in that realm, I think Winter Ember is going to be a really good one that you should check out, because it does have a lot of the same set design, a lot of the costume design, and a lot of the same story elements to it. Local Man Gold. This is a one-shot from Image Comics, and Local Man is a story coming out right now from Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks, and this is basically 90s Image Comics but with 2000 storytelling. You can tell that from the cover and the fact that they did a gold special. Like it's
with the bar and everything.
With the bar and everything. Oh, they homage so much, and in this issue they actually bring back a ton of characters from 90s Image Comics. So I'm going to actually switch to that right now. So before I do, I'll tell you the story. So I'll show you page 1 before I go to that. So this has been the story of a man who was known as Crossjack. And he kind of is like your Captain America, but with a really, really bad attitude. Kind of like the way a lot of early 90s Image characters were. Like they look like Marvel characters, but with bad attitudes. And so he was kicked out of his group, which was Third Gen, and sent to live in a small town, and went home basically, and had the whole story of like why you can't go home. Like everybody hated him there. He did a lot of things that people don't like him for, both as a regular person but also as Crossjack. And he's not supposed to do any problem solving, any investigating, but he has been. And now him from the future has come, or him from the past. Either way, he time traveling him has. It's him from the past. Him from the past has come. He is like, oh my God, I was a terrible person. Why did I do this? But him from the past has shown up with all of these actual Image characters that are over here in this little group. So we've got a lot of people like from early 90s comics showing up, and he's got to team up with them to stop himself essentially from destroying the future, or destroying the past before the future can be destroyed. And it's classic 90s comics, but the storytelling is so good on it, because the whole thing is constantly like, I can't believe we did that. Like, even in the earlier issues of Local Man, like when they show the female characters in their costumes, they're like, who would wear this? Why would I wear this? This doesn't make any sense. You know that this doesn't help me at all, right? Like, who does this help? But my favorite cameo of all of them is right here on the bottom, because the way that the time travel works and the way that they're going to either stop it or fix it is by catching one woman who is Joan from Love Everlasting, which is one of my favorite books right now. So we have crossed over to where Joan's story is now something that can help these characters time travel, and it is what's messing up the entire like Image universe. I love that, because the 90s crossovers, you were always like, what is this? Why are you doing this? This doesn't make any sense. And they kind of give us that, but the writing is so good that they actually make it work. And also they still, like I said, they bring in a lot of crazy, outlandish 90s characters, and they just kind of poke fun at all of it in the best way. Obviously, this is a person who was writing comics then, and who has been writing for forever. And Tim Seeley, he's been around. He's written a lot of those 90s style characters himself. So, but I love that they did actually credit everybody that got a big cameo and who created them in here. What a great way to do this. But seriously, check out Local Man. I cannot express that enough. Like, this is so well done. You should definitely check it out. Because the other thing that you do get every time is you get a flip. It's a flip book every issue. And so while you get the ongoing story of what's happening in this man's life now, and like the regret and the remorse of everything he did as like a 90s superhero, you also do get the 90s story of the hero that he was in the backup of every issue. So you get a little bit of modern storytelling mixed with 90s storytelling, all for the price of one comic. And for $4.99, like, they give you 2 stories every week for $4.99, which is not something that most people can say right now. Happy Astronaut #1 from Keenspot. This is for fans of Rick and Morty. This is like one of those like ridiculous over the top books for sure. This is all about an astronaut who is not very smart. He's not very good. He's not somebody who was even necessarily meant to be an astronaut. And now he's out in space and he's trying to do all of these missions. He's not good at them. And it kind of has a little bit of that like Dogman humor. Like with most Keenspot books, I'm not really sure if this was meant for kids or adults because it's got a little bit of that crossover. But his robot that he has started working with absolutely hates him. And absolutely does understand how everything works and is like, I hate you, you're an idiot, I should just leave you out here in space. And so it kind of just takes all those sci-fi tropes and plays them out, but with that crass humor of like of a Rick and Morty almost, but without going too far into those adult jokes. And so this is just them on some missions to see if they can get the job done and survive each other. And it's really funny. I definitely think you should read it in one of those like Kyle Stark's kind of jokey like kind of ways. Like go into it knowing like there's like no like seriousness. It's almost really like adult version of Dave Pilkey. And again, I don't know that there was too much that you couldn't hand to anybody. Mother Russia, issue 1 from CEX Publishing. Mother Russia has actually come out before. I think we had a one-shot last year before. It's been a minute, but we did have one. And this is kind of just like to give us some more of that story. And basically, it's a zombie apocalypse in Soviet Russia. And things are bad. It's not going well. And Mother Russia is this woman who has survived through all of it. She continues to just make her way through the zombie apocalypse and just tear things up. She's kind of like the Michonne equivalent, essentially, in this world because she just survives everything. She was a great assassin, and so when the zombie apocalypse broke out, she just kind of tore everything apart. But in this issue, she finds a little kid in the middle of a town square, and all of these zombies are coming for this kid because it can't stop crying. And while she's like, I should just go, I should not worry about it, she can't let it go. She has to go after this kid and try to save it. And along the way, she kind of gets herself stuck in some zombie mess, and we get to introduce some new characters into Mother Russia's life and see how they are going to be able to work together through this zombie apocalypse. So I like that zombie books love to be in black and white. I feel like it just kind of adds to the zombie-esque story. This is Kaptara. It's volume 2, issue 1. This is a Chip Zdarsky story from, I already forgot what year. And he has finally come back to it. It's one that he was working on a long time ago. He did one volume. People have been wondering when it was going to come back. That time is now. There is basically it follows a human who needs to save the world, and the way he's going to do that is by leaving it. And I love Chip Zdarsky's original solicit for the other volume was that he leaves on a dangerous mission to a dangerous place, a weird and dangerous place where dangerously weird creatures start attacking him. Chip Zdarsky. But so now we are following that group of people and aliens and things as they are on this adventure. And the only place that they can go is back to the home of this one cat-like woman where her parents, like they can go stay at her parents' house. And we kind of just see how her parents like hate everything about her. Like they're like, how come you're not wearing clothes? And she's like, because we're cats. We don't really need to wear clothes. And they're like, that's old. We don't like that. Like in our society, we wear clothes now. And they're like, how come you didn't marry the boy from next door that we really wanted you to marry? You know, he comes over all the time and he checks on us. And so they just kind of have like this great conversation about how like sometimes parent-kid relationships suck no matter what universe you're from. And so you get some great bonding moments, but also we find out that the bad guys that we were fighting in Kaptara previously are still at large, and they are still taking over places and ruining things in all of the worst ways. And so while these people are dealing with their own personal dramas they are going to have to take on some of these bad guys soon, and towards the end of this issue they do work towards one of those bad guy fights, and it does not go well. We are not starting out on the best of terms as we bring back volume 2 of Kaptara. I don't know if trades of volume 1 are available. I would absolutely have to look that up if you haven't read it. You could jump in here and just kind of hope that like some of the pieces of the puzzle do come together, because Chip does a good job of just building these characters out in this first issue. You kind of get to know everybody, but if you want to know like what the world at large is and where it's coming from, I definitely think you should read a volume 1. Godzilla Rivals. This is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla from IDW. This is a one-shot, and it is done, story and art is done by, at this point, legendary Godzilla creator, Matt Frank. So it's crazy that, like, Matt's been doing Godzilla and has done so much with Godzilla for so long, but this is absolutely stunning. We get so many of his great visuals, and I'm going to show them all to you in just a second. But this is basically done, has like a legend being told by the people of the space planet that Space Godzilla is from, and it's basically just recreating the legend and kind of telling us, you know, oh, if these things come about, this is what will bring the beast, and this is where the creature is from. And so it's all translated. It's so funny because they get to like some big parts and it'll be like, this is redacted, or like translation didn't come through. So it is like kind of getting a fairy tale from an alien race about this monstrous Space Godzilla. And we do get to see that in, again, some really stunning visual pieces of that from Matt. There's some great paneling. Like, I love these two. I'm just gonna keep showing you art from this book because it's freaking fantastic. Great paneling, great double page spreads. If you're a Godzilla fan and you have not checked out Matt's work overall, like, please just like go online and buy work from Matt, because he is literally like one of the best Godzilla artists out there. And at this point, like I said, like the legendary like premier like Godzilla like artist for comics, and he just does these insane amazing spreads. So Godzilla fans, grab this book, grab any art you can from Matt Frank ever, because Matt speaking of Matt, it's gonna say
art pick of the week.
I know, art pick, and then literally I was just gonna say, and that's, I forgot, I put my picks of the week on the bottom. That was an art pick of the week, because my picks of the week were just under the regular issues this week. So we're gonna keep going into more of those picks of the week. But yes, art pick of the week for sure, hands down, Godzilla Rivals. But now picks of the week in general. Alice Never After issue 2 from Boom Studios. I've never not put this book in my picks of the week, and I'm really just biasly putting it in my picks of the week every time because I love Alice in Wonderland, and I really, really, really don't ever see somebody do as good of an adaptation as Dan Panosian is doing with this story. So Alice Ever After Volume 1, we kind of saw Alice finding out that her dad did a lot of things, but also doing a lot of drugs. Alice was making some crazy choices, going along, doing some things, and so she ended up in an asylum because she found out about all the bad things that her dad was doing. I'm opening it up to this page because I just really want this outfit. So Alice ended up in an asylum so that she could, stop doing drugs. Like, she was trying to clean herself up, but then her dad kind of forced them to keep her there. And everybody in the asylum was essentially a Wonderland character. And we weren't really sure, you couldn't really tell in Volume 1 if the illusions of Wonderland were drug-induced or if they were actually, like, Alice going to Wonderland. Obviously, you're supposed to assume that they're drug-induced by the end, but, like, in the very end of the book, Volume 1, some things happen, and Alice ends up choosing to be in Wonderland for the rest of forever. And now Alice is taking the place of the Red Queen, the Queen of Hearts, I should say, not the Red Queen. We are not Disneying this. We are actually doing this right. She's taking the place of the Queen of Hearts, and she has to go to court now. And so if you've ever read or seen Alice in Wonderland, you know that the court scenes are absolutely ridiculous. And so she's come into this court and they're like, okay, so just so you know that you have the right to call for a beheading at any time. And she's like, I don't want to behead anybody. And they're like, well, you might. And she's like, well, I don't, I don't think that that kind of law and jurisdiction was well done. And they're like, well, the last queen just beheaded anybody that looked at her funny. And she's like, I know, and that was a problem. So we're not doing that anymore. And they're like, okay, but you might change your mind when you see the person that is up for, you know, trial. And it turns out that it is the Cheshire Cat. And he has been banned from Wonderland by Alice, but has already just shown up on his own. And she's like, he can't be here. He's banned. Like, this trial is pointless. And they're like, but he is here. So obviously he's not banned, because if he was banned, he wouldn't be here. And so that logic is already not going to work, Alice. And Alice is like, I'm losing my mind. And so she actually has some outbursts in here that are very Queen of Hearts adjacent, and she starts to get really sick from it, and she learns that the Queen of Hearts wasn't always as evil as she believed. Meanwhile, in the human world, we find out that her dad is up to no good with what has been the human world's Queen of Hearts, and we're going to see how some darkness may come back into play as this goes on. Seriously, this book is so good. The multi-layers of it, like all the different levels, the different stakes that he puts into everything, his understanding of Wonderland. Like, Dan is killing it with this book, and then the art is so incredible as well. Like, it's so perfectly Wonderland, like Lewis Carroll-esque, and like bringing back all that Victorian elements, but also that modern art like mixture with it. It's absolutely phenomenal. I still want to have a tea club where we just drink tea and talk about this book all the time, because I love it so much. If you haven't read it yet, grab Alice Ever After. You cannot read Never After without reading Ever After. Just gonna tell you that right now. But honestly, this is one of the best books that Boom has on the shelf, and we all know, like, Boom always has great books. This is one of the best. Oh my god, I don't know where to go. There's so many good books this week. We're gonna do Tox #1 from Blood Moon Comics. It's TOXX. This is a book that I didn't know what it was about. And I was like, ooh, I bet this is going to be cool, because she kind of looks like Tank Girl, but she also looks like she's pregnant. And honestly, this is Tank Girl meets Mad Max Fury Road. This is about a world where the sun has become toxic. It's causing radiation poisoning into people, and so everybody moves underground. And they have certain people who go out who just are kind of like the scavengers and find things for them. And Claire, who is one of the youngest people to be on that team, is going out all the time, getting everything done. And we learn from Claire and her journals that there is a doctor who has basically helped come up with a tox that will keep you from, like, will basically detox you from the radiation. You have to do it every few months. It's not a permanent transition or permanent solution, but it will stave off some of this transition and the mutations that happen for as long as it can. The thing about it is, though, is that Claire is pregnant. And we don't really know a lot about the how, when, why, or whatever in that, but we do know that nobody has gotten pregnant since the radiation has happened. So now Claire is a commodity that they are trying to keep for themselves in this power struggle. And so she is on the run, and she has left with the other scavengers, and they are now the people in charge. Their underground government is like, we don't really know who to send after her, so they are turning to some even darker forces to try to go after her. And seriously, Mad Max Fury Road meets Tank Girl. You gotta love it. It's so well done. I can't wait for issue 2. Like, Blood Moon is killing it right now. Can we just talk about how Blood Moon has just been putting out like banger after banger of comic books? This has been such a good year for them. Keep up the great work, and seriously, buy Tox. Plot Holes #1 from Massive Publishing. This is Sean Gordon Murphy's new book, and it is fantastic. This is the story of a team of people led by Ed, which is essentially short for editor, and they are charged with going into books that are trying to get published that are poorly written because of plot holes, and saving them. And if they do not save those books, then they get trashed. They never get published. They get trashed, and those characters are killed. not only are the characters killed, but like the humans who were supposed to benefit from them will never learn the lessons that they need to learn, will never grow into better people, and things will, you know, cease to happen. And I love it because we have like our little Calvin and Hobbes-esque type person. We've got the guy that's supposed to be from manga, and oh my gosh, what is his name? I think it is literally, I think they literally just call him Manga Man. But he is your stereotypical, like every like trope from manga, like blurred into one. You've got like your cat who's like, oh, I'm the like prince of this place, but I'm a warrior, like all the ridiculous things. And the person that they go to save is actually a comic book creator who's in a story about creating comic books, and they have to go save him because and bring him onto the team because they need his particular brand of help for what is going to happen, because we find out that in the very first couple pages they are fighting against a creature that is trying to destroy a story, and when they jump out of the book, that creature gets blasted across multiple books, and now all books are kind of in danger, so they are going to have to work very hard to save all the books. And let's be honest, we know that I just love books, and I love stories about books, and so this was a no-brainer with Sean Gordon Murphy doing the art and the writing on it, that I was going to absolutely love this, and it's so good. Seriously, if you're a fan of like Fictionauts, if you're a fan of PageMaker, if you're a fan of just even something epic right now, like this is just a really good one to jump in on. And if you're a fan of like Curse of the, you know, Batman, Curse of the White Knight, or any of the White Knight stories that Sean Gordon Murphy is doing, this is him working on an indie story where he's doing all of the stuff in the same way that he did that. So I highly recommend all of you White Knight fans jump on that as well. And lastly, this is cheating because there's 11 stories in here, but we've got The Devil's Cut, which is the very first thing from all new publisher Distillery. This is a one-shot. It is prestige format. I know you all stress about that every time. Deal with it. It's amazing. It's wonderful. This is a Francavilla cover. So I'm sold automatically because you have Francavilla. But this is 11 stories, 11 first issues, essentially, for new stories. So in the 90s, in 1992, a group of people who were known famously for being some of the best artists in comic books at the time decided to come together and create a little publisher that you may have heard of at this point, named Image Comics. Well, in 2023, a group of some of the best writers in comics decided to come together with some of the best artists in comics and create a new publishing company, and here we are. And they launched this very first book with this very first story from James Tynion. So you've got a story from James Tynion about, you know, some setting up a world where bad things are happening and people's very much like in your world tree, like Department of Truth kind of thing, where a guy's going to have to stand against stuff. The second story is one that I really, really love because it's very Spy Island-esque, but it's by Elsa Cartier, who does Love Everlasting with Tom King. Very exciting to see her do writing and art on a story, and for it to be such a funny spy story. Like I said, that's very, very much a Spy Island from Chelsea King kind of story. And then you get Stephanie Phillips working with Joelle Jones on a story that's basically about a woman who works in a morgue, maybe just breaks into a morgue, but has very Frankenstein-esque moments, but is also trying to like build the love of her life out of this dead body that she may be in love with. You can't top Joelle Jones and Stephanie Phillips making something gorgeous and amazing like that. Like, just look at Joelle Jones showing off on this art. I feel like Joelle Jones just does not get near as much love for everything great and wonderful that she does, which is everything that she does. Oh, I just love her so much. I'm like, I don't even want to turn the page because I want you to see every single detail first. Then the next one, we're going to skip to that, is Mirka Andolfo. She is doing a story very much like her usual style of angels and demons falling in love with each other and doing, you know, all of their dastardly deeds together. Standard Mirka, funny, adorable, cute, and off-the-wall crazy all at the same time. So you've got that. And then you've got the next story, which is a story from, I think the next one's Brian Azzarello. Let me double check. I think so. Did I miss it? Did I miss where it says who it is? I think it is. No, it's Jock. The next one's the Jock story. And Jock is writing a story called The Stowaway, and doing the writing and art. So it's very much like Batman, the one Dark Knight. But this is about a young girl who lives in a world where she's kind of having to steal some stuff for her, the people on the underground, and she gets caught in some crosshairs very quickly for some people who are the bad guys, and we learn a little bit about what's going on in that world. And then the next story is from Brian Azzarello, and it's a Western story, and I'm going to skip to the next one, which is Scott Snyder and Frank Avila back together, Frank Avila and him working on another horror book. And this is the story of a guy who is obsessed with ships and does all the ship research, and they let him come out to like the great white whale of yachts essentially, and he gets stuck on there forever, and he learns that it is haunted very quickly, and you get some of that classic Scott Snyder horror creepy storytelling, but with Frank Avila's like just perfect movie monster shots that he's so good at. It's great to see the two of them working together on horror. Like, let's just keep that going forever and ever. And then you get another story from Jamie McKelvey, which is about a future where we can't, like, nobody can die, nothing, like, your soul just like regenerates essentially, and these people are like, you can't really experience life that way. And then some glitches start happening, and they're like, we're gonna jump through this glitch and we're gonna see what happens, and it leaves us literally on a cliffhanger. And then we get a story from Ram V, and it's about a couple who's like waiting on a solar flare, and the solar flare is essentially going to rewrite everybody's memories. They're never going to know what's happening, and they talk about how much they love each other and how they've been together forever, but then they also kind of talk about how much they don't know if they really love each other, and how relationships are hard, and whether, you know, maybe it would be okay if they just forgot each other and started over, and like, if you're meant to be, you'll just kind of find each other back in the same place that you were meant to find each other. And then lastly, I am so excited about this, we have a story from Becky Cloonan and Tula Latoy working together interchangeably on art and writing. So two of my favorite female creators on art and great storytellers, and they're, oh my god, they're just working together to tell a fantastic story about a young girl being accused of witchcraft, and how she's like, I didn't do it, and she meets this person, and I can show all that, and like, just, he's like there to save her, but maybe not, and then all of the stuff that happens that goes along with it. Becky is so good at writing witches, and Tula is so good at making these beautiful, like, romantic scenes. And so you've got Becky doing these dark, creepy moments, and Tula doing these beautiful moments, and just this story that just completely devastates you in 3 pages, and yet also makes you want to read all of it forevermore. Fantastic way to start out as a publisher. I want all of these books. I mean, if there's 11 stories in here, I believe most of them are launching into the exact story, like, coming out of this. So obviously get this. But in the same way that, like, in 1992 you wanted to get all those first image books, I think you need to make sure you have this in your collection, because if these are all of today's top creators working together, who knows where this could go. But even if it didn't, you're going to get 11 amazing stories to start out with right now. So pick of the week is always a new publisher. Like, if I have a chance to do that, I'm always going to launch that into my picks of the week, because I love seeing the starts of new publishers and new creative teams, and the fact that all of those people are coming together to just make exceptional stories. Give me stories now. I think Jock's is the first story, like the first full distillery story is going to be a book from Jock. So I'm excited. If you know me, you know I love Jock. I love him as an artist. I love him as a writer. I love him as a human. He's just so nice. So he is getting that first story. All right, we got a lot of books in stock this week. One that I was very excited about is actually, I think, the very first book I read this week, which is Miss Marvel, The New Mutant. And I love this because I am an Inhuman fan, and I was very, very angry about the possible change of Miss Marvel, and they handled this so well. And I'm still happy as an Inhuman fan. I'm still happy as a Miss Marvel fan. I am very happy And as an X-Men fan, you need this because it continues to follow that storyline. I love it. And more importantly than any of that, Iman, who plays Miss Marvel, is co-writing this book, which is the most Kamala Khan thing you could do. She was obsessed with Marvel, so she wanted to be in the MCU, so she tried out for Miss Marvel, and then she got the role, and now she is writing Miss Marvel comics, and she did a signing at her local comic shop that she grew up buying her comics at, which just makes everything wonderful. I love you, Iman, and you're beautiful and amazing, and you did such a great job as Miss Marvel, and I can't wait to see you in the movie, and please don't tell anything about the trailer in the comments, because I don't watch trailers, and I'm ecstatic for the Marvels. Benino from Scoot, issue 1. This is a new kids book from the kids imprint at Scout. It's very cute story about a boy who kind of makes some wrong choices very quickly and early on, and all of the repercussions that come from that. Nightmare Country, The Glass House, issue 4 from DC and James Tynion, and I believe it's Lysandra Strong. It's just Lysandra, the artist of Redneck, working with James Tynion on that. Monstrous, issue 47, out this week. Elvira and Monsterland, issue 4, and I believe she fights a giant kaiju in this issue, which is always great to see Elvira fighting anything, nonetheless, some kaijus, so love her. Cult of Carnage Misery, issue 4. Black Hammer has returned to end, so this is the end, the beginning of the end for Black Hammer. Jeff Lemire finally wrapping up that universe. Nort, or Gunort, the giant dog, space doggy, the Green Lantern that he is, has a swimsuit summer special, and it's gonna have like all the swimsuit covers in it, but also it has a bunch of summer stories in there. It's the standard DC summer like seasonal book. Death of the Venomverse, issue 3. This has Madam Venom in it, so which kind of just looks like the lady who ran the Winchester Mystery House. It looks like her, and Sarah Winchester, and it but with the Venom outfit on, like if she cosplayed Venom while she was still wearing her like normal black dress and veil. Star Wars, The Mandalorian, season 2, issue 3, out this week. This is your recap of like comic book version of the Mandalorian show. Star Wars Bounty Hunter, issue 37. We've got Action Comics Doomsday Special, issue 1, and we're bringing out some new stuff into the Doomsday canon. Dawn of DC is starting to turn back now that Night Terror is wrapped up, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. And we've got Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow, issue 5. The Riddler, year 1, issue 6. This is the Riddler story that Paul Dini has been writing in connection with his character from the Batman that starred Robert Pattinson and Paul Dini himself. Moon Knight annual. This is part of your Contest of Chaos, which is your big Scarlet Witch event for the summer that you need to grab that book to go with that story. Incredible Hulk is back with issue 3 for the new Hulk story that I know everybody is loving so far. Ghost Rider Danny Ketch, issue 4. Deadpool Batter Blood, issue 3. This is your Rob Liefeld Deadpool story. There are 2 Deadpool stories going on right now. Catwoman Uncovered, issue 1. This is actually just a collection of all of the recent fan favorite Catwoman covers that have come out. Oh, look, that's that Carrie Ann Moss cover. I'm just convinced that that's Carrie Ann Moss dressed as Catwoman. You can't tell me otherwise. She's not even dressed as Catwoman. She's dressed as Carrie Ann Moss. And then Batman Catwoman, the Gotham War is out this week. Teenie Howard and Chip Zdarsky are co-writing this battle together. And this is going to be your crossover for Batman Catwoman for this year. They're teaming up, fighting each other, a little bit of both. But I love that the Batman and the Catwoman writer are working together on it. Blade issue 2 is out this week. Conan the Barbarian, issue 2. This is no longer with Marvel. Conan is at Titan Comics. He is no longer in any way, shape, or form connected to your Marvel continuity. And they actually, even in the first one, recap where Conan has been, and it jumps back to everything that happened pre-Marvel time period. So we're going back to that standard Conan storytelling. Marvel Age 1000. This has kind of just become our annual, like, big Marvel book where we introduce some new characters and tell a bunch of fun stories about Marvel. Night Terrors, Night's End. This is the wrap-up. That's it. It's over. Your night terrors are done. You can awake and have joy because you are no longer having nightmares. But also, this is the wrap-up. So every issue's out for those of you who are hanging on, waiting for it to come to an end to see if you should jump on. The answer is yes, you should. And you should grab these covers that remain at local comic shops while they still do, because I know the sell-through on a lot of those has been crazy because it's been such a fun event. Speaking of night terrors, we have sleep terrors. This is a complete story in this trade paperback, and it is basically a girl who can't sleep. She has had she was in a car accident, put her in a coma. She got narcolepsy, and now just the world is dark and crazy, and everything is haunting her. And has she crossed over into madness? Has the madness crossed over into the real world? Only one way to find out is to read this story. Batman Night Watch. This was a free title for Batman Day 2 years ago, I believe. And now the comic has come out. It has wrapped up, and all of the issues are right here. This is a kid-friendly Batman story, so if you are looking for a Batman book that you can give to a kid and not have to worry about whether it gets too violent, Night Watch is the one. Moriarty, Clockwork Empire. This is also your complete story. This is a great Sherlock Holmes story. I love this so much. It was just Sherlock Holmes versus a bunch of, robots in disguise, as Sherlock Holmes so often does fight. The game is afoot. It is wonderful. See how they fight each other. And honestly, I think it will probably keep going. I know I just said it's the whole story, but it really felt like... Nope, it does say the end. I was like, it really felt like it could keep going, but I guess we're wrapping it up there. And then lastly, this beautiful, beautiful thing. This is the Clover Press adaptation of The Great Gatsby. All collected in this beautiful hardcover with this gold filigree. You even get the bookmark inside of it. If you are a fan of The Great Gatsby, this is just your straight adaptation, and it is so well done. Absolutely, schools, libraries, if you need a copy, let me know. I would love to put this in your place because it is so great. And I will once again have to show off my absolute favorite thing, and it's not a spoiler because The Great Gatsby has existed for 100 years. It's in public domain now. Isn't that crazy? Great Gatsby's public domain. But my favorite thing about The Great Gatsby is the last 2 paragraphs of the book where they talk about the green light from the dock and how it comes across the water and how it's just this signifier of hope. And I love the way they did it in this book because the story starts out with just it being like him looking at the light on the dock, and then it kind of just becomes this complete existential, like we all move towards the light moves us towards our future, like we press on, beating against the tide, going towards what we can. And I just love that the image just becomes something that could be cosmic, something that could be the water reflection, something that could just be light shining. It's absolutely gorgeous final image for this book, and absolutely, like, Gatsby fans rejoice. It's so beautiful. Grab this. And it's $24.99 for a hardcover of all of The Great Gatsby, and at Bad City it's 10% off that. So that's it. That was all the books. We did it. It was wonderful. It was an amazing week, and there's going to be even more comics this week. Again, Bad City fans, this week we've got comic creation workshops on Saturday, 11:30 and 3 p.m. free for kids to join us. It's a lot of fun. Bring your kids out, even if they've done it before. We've always got new exciting ways to spice it up for those who have done it before. And then don't forget to join us on the 16th for our 1 year in Bradenton anniversary. Comic creators, artists, cosplayers, big giant sales, story times, fun activities. It's going to be a great day. Who knows what else? I don't even know what else because I'm still working on making it awesome. But since it is Batman Day, don't forget Batman will be here that day too. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a blast talking about all these comics with you. Please come to the shop and talk to me about them more, or drop your comments about all the books you're loving in however you're watching this. We can't wait to talk to you soon. Until then, happy reading, everybody.